Thanks for joining us. Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg will not seek re-election for a third term. He announced that today during a news conference, leaving a wide open field for candidates to vie for his seat. Becca Habecker joins us with what this means for California's capital city. And Becca, this is the second time we're reporting this, actually.
Yeah, Alex, if you have a feeling like deja vu, there's a good reason. It's because back in October of 2020, Steinberg said, quote, "I have zero intention of running for a third term, and I won't change my mind," as some have asserted. That was back when we were covering the Strong Mayor ballot initiative, which would have given the mayor more power. Well, that measure failed. And yet there's been speculation in recent months that Steinberg might seek a third term. So today he put that notion to bed.
I'm announcing today that I'm not going to run for a third term as mayor of Sacramento.
In council chambers at Sacramento City Hall Thursday morning, Mayor Darrell Steinberg explained why he won't be seeking a third term.
There is a season for everything in life. And it's now the season for me to do other things that hopefully will help people, because that's what this is about.
Elected in 2016 and re-elected in 2020, Steinberg has spent 6.5 years as mayor and still has a year and a half left in his final term.
And we got a lot of work to do,
including continued work on homelessness solutions, though he says under his leadership, the city has improved its response to the homelessness crisis and affordable housing shortage. He also points to steering the city through the pandemic and pushing for police reforms and greater oversight. As for his future, we asked Steinberg about a judgeship. You may recall back in December, Politico reported Newsom was considering Steinberg as a judicial candidate for the 3rd District Court of Appeals in Sacramento. Today, Steinberg told us,
I'm eligible. I think I'm eligible, but it's a possibility.
We also gauged his interest in a run for Congress. He replied, quote, "We have a great Congresswoman, Doris Matsui." He did say he'd be interested in state attorney general if the office becomes available. Whatever comes next, he says he'd like to stay in the public arena in some way. And as for his successor, so far only 2 candidates have officially thrown their hat in the ring. Public health policy expert Flojan Kofer was the first, announcing just last month. And minutes after Steinberg's announcement this morning, Sacramento Assembly member Kevin McCarty declared his candidacy as well. We can expect to see many more people joining the race in coming months. And for his part, Steinberg says he'd like to see a wide field of candidates. Alex?
Thanks, Becca. And we want to know your thoughts on this. What do you think has been Sacramento Mayor Steinberg's biggest impact on Sacramento? Just scan the QR code on your screen. Let us know some of your thoughts. All right, here's some of the other stories that people are talking about today, too. California Highway Patrol is investigating a suspected hit and run that left one person dead. It happened after 6 this morning on eastbound Business 80. CHP got the call from a passerby who saw the body on the freeway not far from Watt Avenue. Investigators are looking for any information on this case. Travis Air Force Base celebrated its 80th anniversary of its installation today. There were dedications, performances, and sports tournaments. Ahead of Memorial Day, organizers say that today it really serves as a time to reflect and remember that they are ready to answer any call to service. And the Sacramento County Fair, believe it or not, up and running. This year's theme is Where Tradition Meets Tomorrow. They, of course, have carnival rides, live performances, and they also have farming displays, local food vendors. Organizers say that the fair is really focused on teaching the community about agriculture, business, and technology. And it's fair to say that businesses in the Yosemite National Park gateway town of Groveland are hurting for tourists right now. And that's because the park entrance on Highway 120, it's closed. 5 miles into the park, Big Oak Flat Road, which is a continuance of the highway, is shut down for construction due to road failure caused by significant water flow.
You got Rainbow Pools, Diana Falls, Carlon Falls, and they're just ripping right now. And so what's nice is you don't have it to yourself, but you have it to yourself.
Now, it may be mid-June or later before this road is open again. In the meantime, the closest Yosemite entrance to Groveland is just over 2 hours away through Mariposa. Okay, California created a commission that would strip bad cops of their badges. But now the state is trying to exempt the commission, known as POST, from sharing information about those officers with the public. But it ain't happening through a normal process. There was no bill introduced to make this happen. Political reporter Morgan Reiner found that the governor's administration is doing this through the budget process, which means that it won't be debated with full hearings on the policy side.
Senator Steve Bradford authored SB 2 in 2021 to make sure officers that are found of wrongdoing can't work for another law enforcement agency. I interviewed him about it then.
This is a way to build public trust and restore confidence in the community that law enforcement will be held accountable.
Governor Newsom signed the bill in an emotional ceremony.
I know how hard this is.
But in a recent budget trailer bill, it contains language seen here saying Post is not required to disclose personnel and background investigation files. Right now, if you go on Post's website, you'll see a list of names of officers who either lost their certification or are suspended, with a short explanation, sometimes one word like dishonesty, explaining why.
Openness, transparency, and accountability are the first duty of democratic government. That is the first job of the government, not the last. And, the public has a compelling right to know. The public has a constitutional right in California to access public information.
David Loy is legal director of the First Amendment Coalition. I showed him what I found in an agenda from an Assembly Budget Subcommittee on April 24th, where you can see the governor is requesting the change. The staff comment says it's because it would require significant resources, staffing, and time to process the public records requests.
This is an obligation that local law enforcement agencies already comply with, and with far less resources than a state agency.
So what's the argument for making the state provide these records, not just local departments?
So if Post has collected these records and you as a member of the press or anyone as a member of the public wants to inquire into patterns of officer misconduct up and down the state, it's much more efficient and effective from the standpoint of the press and public to obtain those records from a single source which has collected them from around the state, rather than forcing you or other members of the public to go up and down the state to all 58 counties.
McGeorge School of Law adjunct professor Chris McKaylee says it's wrong to try to change this policy through the budget.
Unfortunately, I think that we are seeing more and more bills or laws being enacted through the budget process under the auspices of some sort of fiscal implication instead of going through the regular public policy process. And as we talked about earlier, I think that this particular proposed exemption is definitely one that should go through the legislative process, because I would think that the legislature views it in a contrary manner.
So the governor's office declined to comment and said that we should talk to Post. We haven't heard back yet. Of course, we'll let you know when we do. But lawmakers and the governor have to agree on the final budget by June 15th. If passed, that would change. It would go into immediate effect. All right, coming up later in the show, we're exploring the little-known history behind this 2-mile stretch in South Sacramento, home to Vietnamese immigrants that left after the Vietnam War.
Little Saigon, for me, is kind of like the root.
I grew up here. I grew up in Little Saigon. This is where I consider my home. My community exists here, and my bubble of happiness is on Little Saigon.
How the area became a hub of diverse Asian food, events, and local businesses, and home to those who uprooted their lives.
I'm still tracking showers and thunderstorms in this year, how that's going to play into our Memorial holiday weekend.
Memorial Day weekend is just about here, which means pools are finally about to open up, and first responders are sending a message today. Pick a pool over the river. The waters are cold and fast, so it's a great time to head to the aquatic center. Monica, I know you second that.
Oh, yeah. You know what I always say about a pool? Free your mind and feed your soul. I love it.
You love swimming, though. That's her safe spaces in the pool.
It is. All right. We are going to be taking a look at some other conditions traveling into the holiday weekend. Especially for the Sierra. If you're headed up to the high country, just be aware showers and thunderstorms will continue to be a part of that forecast. And up towards Redding, near Lake Shasta, thunderstorms as well. That's a big recreation area. I know a lot of folks are going to be hitting the road here in the next 24 to 48 hours to spend some time in beautiful California, but be ready. That's going to be the top concern here. Conditions will change rapidly from sunny to stormy in just a matter of minutes. Have shelter, especially a hard top shelter, particularly in a house or even a hard top vehicle. And Make sure if you do any hiking, go before noon because those thunderstorms really ramp up after the noontime hour. We still have a flood watch in effect for the high country due to rapid snow melt and many of those rivers running high. Despite the fact we've seen highs in the 60s, we've got rain on top of snow. Not a good mix there. Highs in the 70s and 60s down low for the valley. Our temperature trend has been on the cooler side. Average high this time of year, about 83. We're going to stay below average for the coming days in the 70s and 80s with not much of a shift in our weather pattern. That means be prepared for some cooler temperatures and also mountain storms here. We've got fog along the coast with highs only in the 60s. And as we travel through the valley, we'll see those highs in the 70s to right around to 80. A look at our 10-day forecast. Again, highs will stay right around the upper 70s to low 80s through the holiday weekend. Not much change next week.
All right, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but really after the break, we have a story you don't want to miss. It's about good food, great company, and a whole lot of history. After the break, we're heading out to South Sacramento's Little Saigon to learn about the deep roots planted by Vietnamese immigrants. So Little Saigon is located on a 2-mile stretch in South Sacramento. The area was born when Vietnamese immigrants came to the States following the Vietnam War. In 2010, Sacramento City Council officially designated a portion of the area known as Little Saigon, recognizing what's become a cultural hub of diverse Asian food, events, and local businesses. Photojournalist Rachel Kim has the story tonight.
It's home, too, for some 500,000 refugees who fled to the big city to escape communist terror and the bombs and bullets from both sides.
During the fall of Vietnam, my dad had organized a boat, so a total of 90 people on a tiny little boat. Boat was, just lingering in the sea. Finally, the Thailand rescuer, they came out and saw the little boat, so they pulled us on board. My mom, at the time, she was very sick, so we were a priority. We became one of the very first Asian family to go to the United States. We came to Sacramento in 1985. My grandma, she had a friend here in Sacramento. My dad opened the restaurant in 1991. That's when I was in 11th grade. So I would go to school and usually come here after school and work and help my parents.
During the late 1970s, early 80s, there's a wave of immigrants coming from Vietnam. They fled the country due to the fall of Saigon in 1975. A lot of the Vietnamese immigrants found the opportunities in California. When they found Sacramento, which they are attracted by the low housing costs, a lot of them start relocating to Sacramento in the late 80s. The Little Saigon designation is a 2-mile stretch from Fruit Ridge Road all the way to Florin Road. There was businesses that started to pop up, and so for the south side, we have SF Supermarket. We also have the Hương Lang sandwiches. And then on the south side, we have VinFast Supermarket.
The first day when we landed in United States of America, March 6, 1981, it was the day that we came to Sacramento. Due to there was lack of work and also poverty, we had to leave Vietnam after the fall of Saigon. When we first arrived in America, the most difficult part is communication. Therefore, my parents, they can't get a job. They decided to do what they know best, and which is growing vegetables. After we were done with the farming, my dad one day decided that maybe we should start a restaurant because growing vegetable is too strenuous for the children. Our first restaurant was open 1990. So all this 42 years of experience is all on this little small niche of Little Saigon.
Vietnamese food are so flavorful and very healthy.
A lot of vegetables are involved in Vietnamese cuisine.
We believe that herbs, the mint, the basil, it can help cure.
Pho has become a traditional cure for people.
Banh mi is equivalent to American hamburger.
When I see other culture coming to eat our food, we feel that some kind of success that we have been able to do what we want to do is introduce our culture, our food.
The name Little Saigon, the idea started December of 2009. Former council member Kevin McCarty, he recognized a lot of these Asian immigrant businesses has contributed so much to the area of Stockton Boulevard. So through the brainstorming session, we came up with a rescue mission. It's an acronym that stands for revitalization, economic development, safety and security, community building, unity, and education.
With the Little Saigon destination, we hope that it will become a unique destination for visitors locally and internationally.
February 2nd, 2010 was the date that the designation would go to council members for a vote. Everyone in the community to attend this historic moment for us. We remember that night, and we got the unanimous vote as of February 10th, 2010. So we got our both resolutions.
I do feel that the second generation do have a responsibility to sustain what their parent had tried so hard. They want to make sure their children succeed. They sacrifice their life to give us better opportunity by coming to America. I thought you were in the middle of the night making cheese. This restaurant is my parents' legacy, and I don't want it to fail. If it fails, at least I can say I tried. I grew up here. I grew up in Little Saigon. This is where I consider my home. My community exists here, and my bubble of happiness is on Little Saigon. And the people that is in the community supports our business, support my family.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, love you. Little Saigon, for me, is kind of like the root. My dad started the business here, and I now survive on what my dad passed down to me.
And there's even more to this wonderful story put together by photojournalist Rachel Kim. You can watch the extended version on our website at abc10.com/tothepoint. All right, after the break, the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors voted to give themselves a big old raise this week, and you all had a lot of questions about it. We're getting your answers on the other side of the break. It's a topic we are seeing and hearing a lot about online. Starting next month, the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors will go from being paid about $127,000 a year to about $173,000. And that's after a vote this week. So far, this week's Ask Alex segment, we've wanted to answer this question. Someone commented on our ABC 10 Facebook page asking, why should they be any different than the public? So we did reach out to a professor at McGeorge School of Law to understand why elected officials can vote on their own raises. Here's what they had to say.
Unless there's some higher law that constrains them, they're allowed to vote on their own salary. And the theory there is that they do it openly. There are laws that make sure that they do it openly. There's media like you reporting on it, and the people can see what's going on and vote them out if they think that it's the wrong thing to do.
This pay increase is currently slated to take effect on June 4th. And I do want to say thank you to everyone who wrote in. We really do read all of your comments. And coming up tomorrow on To The Point, all month long, we've been celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So make sure you tune in to hear some really great stories about food, forgotten communities, and cultural preservation, all here in Northern California. Hope you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.